Why don't we get into the Yankees, because they need a lot of superheroes in their bullpen. Me, you, and Tyler the other night after the show, we were talking about where the Yankees could go in the bullpen that can really solidify the weakness of this team for the last 2 years. Now, if Aaron Boone comes back, the Yankees are going to have to bring back a significant amount of bullpen help. I'm talking about maybe 3 pitchers in that bullpen to solidify that bullpen. Now, obviously, they fired both their batting coaches and their third base coach, Nevins, who absolutely screwed up against the Boston Red Sox and cost the Yankees possibly a long inning and maybe a playoff run, forcing Aaron Judge to go home and a Giancarlo Stanton double off the wall, the Green Monster in the 6th inning. And the Yankees were only down by, I think, 3 runs. They could have came back into the game. That was very costly for the Yankees, and it might have been a different game if the Yankees didn't make that mistake. So they fired Nevins, they fired Thames, and now they're moving forward with Aaron Boone, but for how long? I don't think it's going to be more than a year. I think the Yankees will extend him to see what he can do now with this team. If they add maybe 1 or 2, maybe even 4 or 5 players in the offseason, I believe Hal Steinbrenner will give the Yankees a little bit more money so they can do that. Where do they go? What are they going to do with their infield? Now, obviously, with first base, they got to decide if Rizzo's going to be the guy or if they're going to go to free agency to find the guy to fill in that spot. Maybe they have somebody in the farm system. Maybe they decide to bring back Voit. I think they will arbitrate Voit to bring him back because he's a good backup player. It's going to be very interesting where they go. The outfield is solidified. Brett Gardner's probably going to retire. They have a center fielder coming back from injury. So they're positioned pretty well because they are going to have Gallo come back this season because he has 1 more year left on his contract. They'll probably arbitrate him as well. But for a power left-handed hitter, pay him because he's cheap. The Yankees are solidified in the outfield with Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton and the players that they have. The infield, they're going to have to decide what they're doing with Gleyber Torres. Is he a consistent second baseman? When they moved him to second baseman in the second half, he was batting .300. He was hitting for average. He was hitting for power. He was playing good defense. I think that's where he belongs, and I think that's where he will stay. Gio Urshela, I don't know what the Yankees are doing with him. They could bring him back with arbitration. He's not going to cost a lot, $4 million. Is he our everyday shortstop? I don't think this year he will be their everyday third baseman. I think that is DJ LeMahieu's job with his defensive skill, and if he can stay healthy, he will be their everyday third baseman. But I think it's Volpe. I think the young kid over there in their farm system, one of the top 15 players right now in all of baseball in the farm system, I think he is going to win the Yankees over early in spring training. He will go to AAA early. I think he'll be up probably before the second half of the season. He hits for power. He steals bases. He's one of the best defensive players at the shortstop position right now in AA. He's a 5-tool player. Great player. We talk about Jason Dominguez, who was a top prospect in the beginning of the year. He's a top 20 prospect. He has fallen out of the top 20. And Volpe, who I think was 50th, moved all the way to 15th. And I think now he's 13th or 12th in all of baseball, slowly moving up. Now, Jason Dominguez is going to be a nice player. I think it's just going to take him a little bit longer. He's a 17, 18-year-old kid. But Volpe's 19 years old. I think he's figuring things out. I think the Yankees are positioned very well at that shortstop position in the future. And the catcher, they do not and they should not arbitrate Gary Sanchez. Let him go, trade him, do something with him, get something, get whatever you can for him. I think his time with the Yankees is done. I know Brian Cashman loves him, but Brian, he hasn't done anything. The guy can't catch the ball. It's time to bring in a veteran guy. If Perez is available, which he is, I don't know how much you're going to have to pay him. He had a sensational year. I don't think he's going to have 40 home runs if he comes to the Yankees, but maybe 30 or 25 for a catcher. He's still one of the best defensive catchers in baseball. If the Yankees want to spend a little bit money this offseason, give him $40-50 million. I think that's what he's going to get on the market. Even if with the season that he had, he's not making $100 million. No catchers really get $100 million.
Not at his age, no.
No, I think he'll get $40 million. I think the Yankees should give it to him. Give him a 3-4 year deal worth about $12 million a year for a catcher of his talent. Could really solidify that position. It'll help the pitchers out. You won't have to bring in a pitcher here and bring in a pitcher there with a catcher. You could play him a significant amount of games this year. I think you really solidify your infield then. As far as their pitching is concerned, they need another starting pitcher. Now, Max Scherzer is a guy that would fit like a glove with the Yankees. Does he want to play in New York? That's the question. And Justin Verlander, who's going to be a free agent this year, he missed a whole year last year to Tommy John surgery. surgery. Verlander believes that he could still play in this league. Maybe the Yankees decide and take a flyer on Justin Verlander. Because guess what? Garrett Cole is there. They're two very close friends. I think Verlander would fit with the Yankees. A power pitcher, pitched very well in Yankee Stadium. Maybe the Yankees go after Justin Verlander. So I think they need to get a starting pitcher. I don't think Corey Kluber is coming back. I think if you add one more pitcher, Severino will be at 100% this year coming into spring training. That's good news for the Yankees because if you have Cole, Severino, Verlander, or Scherzer, and Montgomery, you have arguably one of the best pitching staffs in all of the American League.
Yeah, I think the Yankees need a lot of pitching depth in some regard because the Yankees were always more of a traditional.
You also have the kid from Pittsburgh, too.
Yeah, Tyone. Because they were such a traditional bullpen for a while, now it's going more towards a versatile bullpen, the new era of baseball. I think the Yankees need a lot of different types when it comes to guys that maybe stretch innings. They need more like upgraded versions of Chad Green. A lot of those guys, they're the new wave of baseball. Starter-reliever hybrids, relievers that could stretch 2 innings, relievers that could be more than lefty specialists. They're going to need a lot of those types of guys. Starting pitching, too. Maybe they go after Verlander and then they go after a couple youngsters, something like that. They need more depth. I don't know if one flashy pitcher is exactly the answer because they already have that with Garrett Cole. I think they need more of can they build from the rest of the team and make it work because it's not the modern type team. And the Yankees have it on the hitting front. They have a lot of guys that get on base. They have a lot of guys that hit home runs, obviously a big, powerful lineup. And again, analytically, that's what teams look for in today's game, but they also strike out a lot too. So the pitching wise, I think they need to expand on that. And when it comes to Sanchez, yeah, probably try to trade him, dangle him, see what you can get for him because he's regressed hitting wise too, not for power, but for batting average and on base percentage. And after his first 2 seasons in the league, you expect it to get better. It's not only gotten significantly worse, it's dropped off pretty badly.
And you know Kansas City's not re-signing Perez. He's going to be too expensive.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Perez is going to be available. I think he's, 35?
Before the last 2 years, he's been relatively durable, too. So that's something that's very rare out of a catcher to find. And the Yankees need that kind of thing when you have to expect other guys on their team outside of LeMahieu in that lineup. They're all a lot of injury-prone guys. Stanton, Judge, Gleyber Torres, guys like that have been hurt a lot. So they want to have some level of durability where you can say, all right, I don't have to trust the next Gio Urshela to break out of nowhere type thing.
As far as the Mets are concerned, the Mets have a lot of work to do this offseason. First of all, they need to find a GM, a guy that can run baseball operations because Sandy Alderson is done. I can't see Sandy Alderson sitting in position that he's in maybe one more year. I can't see it any longer than that. There was David Stearns, which you wanted from Milwaukee.
I did.
It doesn't seem like he's leaving a New York native. He loves what he's doing with Milwaukee. He loves Milwaukee. He thinks he can win with Milwaukee. He spoke out yesterday stating that he loves it here. His family loves it here. He has a lot of work to do over here. So I don't think he's going anywhere. There was Billy Beane that everybody was talking about. It doesn't seem like Billy Beane is heading over there with the New York Mets. It looks like it's going to be the Dodgers executives and Josh Burns or Brandon Gomes. Those are the guys, those are the big names that seem to stand out for the Mets job. It's going to be very interesting this offseason on where the Mets go and how they decide where they're going with this roster. Javier Baez is the most important part of this roster in the offseason because they do not want to lose him. He is going to be a free agent, unrestricted. The Met fans did not really like him. I don't know if that's going to hurt his decision to staying there, but Lindor is his best friend, or one of his best friends. I do believe Lindor and Pete Alonso can talk him into staying there, but it's going to be costly. The Mets are going to have to open up the pockets. This guy is one of the best infielders in baseball. I think he's better than Lindor. I think he should be the shortstop. I think Lindor should be the second baseman, but doesn't matter. They need to sign this guy. He is a very important piece if they plan to win in the National League East, especially the way the Braves have it set up, the way Philadelphia believes they're going to be next year.
If they could pitch.
Wheeler looked really good this year.
That's it, though.
Fantastic.
That's it. That's literally the only guy they had that was anywhere
He
close
could win
to
the Cy Young
consistent.
this year. He really could.
I don't know about Cy Young, but he definitely was top 5 in terms of performance in the National League this year, and really the only pitcher they had. Cy Young will probably be either Buehler or Burns.
Yeah, well, I look at the Mets right now. They got to decide what they're doing with their outfield. Their corner outfield positions are open. It's not their infield that you have to worry about. I think the Mets infield is pretty much set for the future, and they have some good
coming up too.
Yeah, they have a young third baseman that's going to be probably up sometime this coming year. By the way, that was another Van Wagening move where he got lucky and Beatty fell to him where they thought he was a top 5 pick. But again, we've heard this by a lot of Mets draft picks, and they all become busts. So we'll see what Beatty is, but he's been very, very good in Double-A. It looks like he is the guy, and he is the future of the Mets third base position. So maybe that's why they didn't go after Chris Bryant. Or Chris Bryant didn't want to be there. Maybe he made a mistake because the Giants didn't look too good against the Dodgers the other day.
Well, I don't think one player would have solved all the Mets' woes they had in the second half of the season. Even if they traded for Chris Bryant, I don't think that was the only guy.
No, I don't believe
that
it
was
either.
the only guy they needed. And I think
they should have brought Baez and Chris Bryant.
Yeah,
in.
that would have been nice. But I think the reason they didn't really need that is they have a lot of like hybrid corner infield, corner outfield types already, where they were expecting, all right, we don't have this true well-rounded second baseman.
Keep the crybaby off your team.
I think among those platoon type guys, I think Dominic Smith is the guy I would want back the most, just because if the DH comes in the National League at some point in the future.
Isn't it next year?
I don't know if it's definitively next year. It might be discussed, but if it is in the future, Pete Alonso could be a DH in certain games, and Dominic Smith, who's actually very good defensively at first base, could play first base in those instances. Whereas J.D. Davis and Michael Conforto, those guys really don't have this one like specialty position where they could play. Conforto's all right in the outfield. J.D. Davis is bad on defense.
So long, crybaby.
Yeah, so I don't want those two guys back. I'd rather have Dominic Smith back. Also a left-handed bat, which is a lot harder to find. Baez, I definitely want back. Even if you have to give him close to $200 million, do it.
A lot of money for two players.
Do it. He's very well-rounded, durable.
He's better than Lindor.
I would put him at second base more just because of he's used to it more, and I don't want to break up what Lindor
I'm talking about
has.
all-around players.
I know you were saying that you want him as the shortstop.
He could be. I think he has better range.
I'm not saying he's not capable of it. I'm just saying he's more used to playing it his whole career, where I don't know if you want to mess with that kind of thing for infield chemistry type thing. So I would keep it the way it is, but again, he's very well-rounded. Give him the money. I hope they don't have to overpay him too much because of the fans, but I don't think that's going to make a difference. And in terms of the GM, yeah, the Dodgers guys definitely now seem enticing because you look at the Giants, their GM in Ferrati, he came from the Dodgers organization too, and they rebuilt obviously drastically like we never thought before. Now, I'm not expecting that out of the Mets. I think that's a fluke type thing for the Giants this year. You can't expect that kind of turnaround right away. But again, you want that kind of thing that could balance it out. The Giants had so many bad contracts. They had to deal with a very old team, and they found different pieces that they made work, pitchers that they rebirthed, and Kevin Gausman and Anthony DeSclafani that were great prospects with their previous teams, and they rebirthed them, found something with them, and even some of their hitters that they found too. And the Mets need a little bit of that, doing the little things. It's not just going to be with one player. It's not just going to be with spending a lot of money. It's going to be with balance. Kind of like the Yankees too. They need to find those modern things, and definitely situational hitting has been a flawed thing for the Mets for years.
Playoffs have been very interesting too. Who would have thought that the Red Sox and the Astros are going to the ALCS?
I didn't have either of those teams in the playoffs at the start of the year.
As a Yankee fan, that it probably is the worst thing that could absolutely happen because
you're going to have to root for the Red Sox
the
now.
two teams that the Yankees absolutely can't stand, and I'm not rooting for any of those teams, honestly.
Yeah,
because
you're probably Braves.
I root for a National League team. I don't want to see any of those teams win because I don't want to hear it from those fans. But who would have thought that the Astros, with all the woes and all the stuff that's happened over the last couple of years, and the Red Sox, bringing back Alex Cora. I can't really take shots at Alex Cora because he comes back and this team starts to win again. So that's managing. And he's a good manager. And this team is playing good, and I think they're dangerous. I think they're really dangerous. I got the Boston Red Sox in this series, and I don't want to see it. I'd rather see the Astros go to the World Series because I don't want to hear the Boston Red Sox fans. Boston's been sensational. They've played good baseball. They're getting timely hitting from players that they expected to give them timely hitting. So amazing. And by the way, the Giants getting knocked out by the Dodgers, I disagree that wasn't a strikeout by Max Scherzer. He check swing. Who knows what could have happened if he got another swing at it. There was a man on base, Chris Bryant. Who knows? He hits a home run, wins the game, and the Giants are going to the NLCS. But the Braves are there. It's been a sensational year for the Braves with all the injuries that they've had, getting where they are. I think this is a Braves series to lose.
Yeah, I do too. And it's weird. They were my World Series pick at the start of the year. Then I backed out on it and I picked the Brewers against them. And now the Braves are looking like this kind of redemption tour type team. We mentioned it earlier with the Islanders with hockey. Some teams might just be better as the underdogs. And the Braves have really just embraced that underdog role all year. Favorites for a while, the last 3 years, lost in the playoffs. They had that bad Game 5 against the Cardinals. They collapsed out 3-1 last year against the Dodgers. And it's also a revenge factor too. The Braves against the Dodgers. I can absolutely see the Braves upsetting the Dodgers. The Dodgers have not been great in one-run games. Their offense got exposed a little bit in the Giants series. Now, the Giants have better pitching than the Braves do, but the Braves pitching in the second half of the season was very good. Max Fried went back to his 2020 form especially, and that's a good sign for the Braves. The Braves kind of have that Nationals feel. The Nationals all the years choking in the playoffs, 90-plus win seasons, 100-win season one year, and then all of a sudden they lose Bryce Harper, and their scrap heap guys start coming through, the random bullpen guys. The Braves lose Acuna in the middle of the season injury, and these new outfielders come through, these new bullpen guys come through. They got the trade deadline. It has a very Nationals feel to it.